The parent dynamic is very interesting, and the way we perceive other people's parent and child dynamics is very interesting too, because it's based on how we were treated as a child. How mom treated us, how dad treated us. Was dad doting and giving hugs and holding your hand, or was dad rarely saying he loved you, or was dad really never around? Was mom there baking cookies with you, giving you a pat on the head or giving you a kiss on the cheek? Or was mom loving you from a distance? Or was mom really not around emotionally, mentally, or physically? And depending on that can impact how we see other people interacting with their kids. Is that normal? Is that healthy? Or is that sweet? Let's talk about that today. Welcome back, friends. Ashley Berges here today. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel because it makes us know that we're doing something right here. And also, if you like this content and you like this video, give us a thumbs up. So let's really think about this. The parent-child dynamic is very interesting. It's very important as well. And when we have a certain dynamic growing up and we experience a certain dynamic, the way we see all other parent-child dynamics is impacted by the way we were treated. Okay, so when we see daughters and fathers together, when we see fathers and sons together, when we see mothers and daughters and mothers and sons together, we make certain assumptions, we make certain ideas in our head about that relationship depending on what we're seeing, and it's all based on what we got or what we didn't get growing up. And so we're going to really think about that today, because the way our father treated us directly relates to how we see fathers in general. The way that we were treated, if we were treated right or we were mistreated, those types of situations, we take a lot from that. And when we see interactions, we either make assumptions or we see things truthfully. And so let's really think about that. If we were really in a very loving and caring environment, for example, let's say that you were in a very healthy environment where dad was there, he was always there with you, patting you on the back, there for you when you got hurt, taking care of your skinned knee, maybe giving you a kiss on the forehead, or maybe even holding your hand on the way to school because you were scared of going to school, you're scared of something. If you had that type of interaction with your father, when you see those interactions with children and their fathers like that, it's a very heartwarming feeling. It's a very heartwarming feeling that makes you feel so good inside. And it's like, wow, that kid is really loved by his father, and his father really loves him, or she really loves her child. But it's interesting because that can be so warming to the heart to see, because you say, wow, it's a really good family. It's a really good parent. That's a really good interaction. But see, that's not always the way that everybody sees it, because if you weren't in a family dynamic where there was a lot of caring, like actual physical touch, right? Because many of us might have not have been raised in that type of family. Some of our parents were raised by their parents where you didn't give a kiss, you didn't give a hug. You might have said, yes, I love you occasionally, but it was very standoffish and very distant. And in that case, when we see the parent dynamic and somebody's like, giving actual physical touch, a pat on the back, or maybe a hug, or holding the hand of a child, we might see that as kind of being a little weird. Like, what is that about? I mean, isn't that kind of strange? Or, we might even think something really, really off base about it too, because it's not something that we're accustomed to or used to. And it's interesting because I find that the more love, the more healthy love that we were shown by the parent dynamic, the more we're able to see that in public, in general public, and other family members and friends, and accept that and see that as something great. Now, if we didn't get that, and let's just say we had more of a distant relationship, but we knew that mom and dad loved us, right? We knew that they loved us no matter what, but they didn't always show it. They didn't know how to show it. They didn't know how to communicate. A lot of times when we see that from the family dynamic, other family dynamics where they're like holding hands or hugging or whatever, that can make us feel a little uncomfortable. It can make us feel a little uncomfortable, but I also find sometimes that it can make us feel a little resentment. So if we wanted that from our family, if we wanted dad to be more outgoing and caring, if we wanted mom to like bake cookies and hold our hand, and we didn't get that, when we see that happening with other people, we can get a little jealous. And I actually know too, I remember back in the day, it was years ago, it was a long time ago, but I remember it like it was yesterday, and I had just graduated high school. And I remember being over at a friend of mine's house, and his dad was like doting on him. You're such a great son. I'm so proud of you. And gave him a huge hug and a kiss on the forehead and was like, I'm so proud of you, son. And I got really, I don't know, something inside of me I just got angry. I got angry, and I didn't know why I got so angry. And I ended up walking outside, and I was thinking about leaving, and it was just the craziest thing. But what it was is I was jealous. I was jealous of seeing that interaction with him. I was jealous of him and his father having such a great relationship, and his dad, like, thinking he's such a great kid, and him being able to talk to his father. And they had like this great conversation before I walked out of the room, and I was full of jealousy and rage, I think. But that was normal, and I didn't understand why I was feeling that way. And it was because I hadn't gotten that, or I felt like I hadn't gotten that growing up. I felt like I hadn't gotten that attention and that care. And that's what I guess I really wanted. And it was like for the first time I saw what I really wanted being played out by two other people. And that was interesting. I ended up having a conversation with my friend later, and I guess I kind of was like, hey, I guess I'm kind of jealous of this. And I think some of you might feel that way too. It's like you see that in that interaction, and it can be kind of like, wow, why didn't I have that growing up? I wish I would have had that. And it's so kind of getting right with that jealousy, getting right with that resentment. It's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel that way, but realizing it's not that person's fault, as far as it's not your friend's fault or it's not those other people's fault, and realizing that's just what you wish you would have had growing up, and kind of accepting that reality. And that's something about kind of getting right with us, is like saying, okay, I might not have had this, but can I push that forward? Can I show my love or dedication or respect to my friends or family more? Can I go out of my way more to show that? Because maybe I've also distanced myself because that's what I was taught growing up. And on the flip side, on the other side too, if you weren't shown love, if you were shown disrespect, if it was a very unhealthy dynamic, we might see things as being even more blown out of proportion. Not only just kind of resentment or sadness, we might feel like there's like a child molestation type thing going on when we see like a parent dynamic that seems so close that it doesn't seem right, because we never experienced that type of interaction. You never got that type of attention. And I've had clients even tell me, they said, the first time I was hanging out with my boyfriend, and he had a child from a previous marriage, and I remember the child saying, hey dad, can I hold your hand? Hey daddy, can I sit in your lap? And they were like, whoa, this is so weird, this is crazy, this seems wrong. But over time they realized it was because, one, the father's a good father. He's a healthy guy, he's a healthy father, but they never had that interaction with dad. Dad didn't have time for them. Dad didn't hold their hand. And so it's very interesting to see that a lot of times, obviously our childhood and growing up definitely colored the situation. It definitely changed the way we see that. And so being able to sit back and analyze, okay, is this the perception that I have based on my upbringing? Is this the perception that I have based on maybe an unhealthy parent dynamic, or maybe just a very cold parent dynamic? Because if that's the case, then it makes sense why you feel this way. It makes sense. And if you were in an abusive family dynamic, that would make sense too, why you might see other things, maybe what other people would say, wow, what are you saying? That doesn't make any sense. But that's why you would see it, because it's so adverse to what you're used to. And it applies for for fathers and daughters, fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, mothers and sons. That whole entire parent dynamic, parent-child dynamic is very interesting. And so the way that we interpret these dynamics is based on our child dynamic, our parent-child dynamic, and how our parents treated us. So one thing that I think is really important about this concept, and why I actually created this content in the first place, is to maybe do some journaling on your own about what the parent dynamic was when you were growing up. What were some of the things that you wish you would have had? And I don't want us to dwell on this and feel really negative and sad about it. I just want us to look at it and see it honestly for what it is. Because I think sometimes when we grow up, we don't want to see that, but we also don't give ourselves grace. We don't give ourselves the benefit of just looking at our life honestly and seeing the things that we're lacking, and realizing that we can pat ourselves on the back, that we did come a long way, that we have done so many things with what we have, and we've really created an amazing life, but there's a lot of things that might have been lacking. And so being able to journal that and look at it and say, hey, you know what, this happened, but I've been able to come this far in my life, and I've been able to demonstrate this and give this back. Because I think we all owe that to ourselves, because I think many of us maybe had some challenging childhoods that we haven't really looked at and analyzed and said, you know what, I did get out of this, I did create this amazing reality, and I feel good about it. Do I wish that I would have had these other things happening in my life? Sure. And I'm going to analyze that and see that. But in the future, if I can push it forward and give that to my kids or show that to my friends or family, I will do that as well. I hope this video is connected with you, because I think that we definitely interpret this based on, the glasses we're wearing, the past, how we were raised, what happened, the good, the bad, and the indifferent. And those can really help us to not only understand ourselves, how far we've come, but also the things that maybe we can do to better express ourselves in a healthy and positive manner. I hope that this video is connected with you, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. as well as give us a thumbs up on this video if this content has connected with you. In the comments section, let me know, are you currently dealing with this in a relationship? Do you have a child from a previous marriage and you're trying to explain to your current love relationship that this is a normal child-parent dynamic? And how are you dealing with that? And that's a big question, because I know that a lot of people go through that, because if their love interest had a very toxic parent upbringing, or the parent was not there emotionally, mentally, or physically, especially emotionally in being there, they will not understand a healthy child-parent dynamic. Oh, and by the way, we have Live Your True Lifestyle, liveyourtruelifestyle.com. Rent, return, and repeat. Rent clothing, you don't have to wash it, you don't have to do anything, you just send it right back and you get new styles immediately. And it's great because it's styles to match the inner you. We're always talking about the inner you in these videos, and so why not wear something that actually shows that off? And don't forget, the link is in the description below. In the meantime, like I always say, don't forget to live your true life.